would you call the roll, please?
Kenneth Hunt,
Present.
Cheryl Cook, Freddie Smith Friend, Jake Nicely,
Present.
Pete Zahn,
Here.
John Campchon,
Here.
Tabor Binsky,
Here.
James Newman.
Here.
Let's see, are we doing the Pledge of Allegiance? Doesn't seem like we have in forever, but we might as well. It's on the agenda. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have you all had an opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, do we have a motion to approve or approve with revisions? There's a lot of them.
I don't think the minutes are in our package.
They weren't, but they're
Mr.
in
Chair,
the package today.
Mr. Chair, if you may, we apologize it wasn't included in your packet. We can approve them for the next meeting. Give you time to
That's
review
probably,
them.
that's the most minutes I've seen, so.
So it would probably be
Maybe it's a
appropriate
good
to
idea,
give you
since
time
there was
to
some
review them.
discussion, that we go ahead and review them, and then we
Yes,
can,
yes, thank you.
handle it next meeting. Well, we might as well do the police report, so you can get in and get out a little earlier.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Tracy Miller, and I am here on behalf of Captain Niccolo for District 2 crime stats. The crime for District 2 compared to this time compared to last year, our total burglaries are down 27%. Our larcenies or thefts are down 12%. Our robberies are down 4%. Our aggravated assaults and batteries are down 41%. Our total Part 1 crimes are down 16%. And our calls for service are down 3%. So overall, we've had a pretty good year compared to last.
Those are good numbers, go in the right direction.
Are there any concerns that the police department should know about?
Yeah, just one concern on Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard between Ridgewood and Beach Street. On the north side of the street, there are a lot of homeless individuals out there sleeping and littering and doing some other things out there that's inappropriate, so.
Okay.
Inappropriate.
So that could take a little extra scrutiny.
Yes.
I know there have been some complaints from the shop owners about panhandling on Beach Street, particularly around the restaurants in the evening. And also, I think it was Tim at Davidson's was telling me about somebody racing up and down on a bicycle,
Like a
playing loud music and riding a bicycle up and down the sidewalk.
like a pedal bicycle or one of those electric?
Pedal bicycle.
Okay.
And just at a high speed.
Okay, on the
people
sidewalk?
Trying to walk around, so
Do you know that was in the daytime or evening?
that's off and on throughout the day.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Newman, I'm glad you brought that up because he's also indicated to me it's been skateboarders going up and down the
Okay.
sidewalk too as well.
What do you typically do about something like that? Just have more presence, or?
Well, there's a city ordinance, especially for the Beach Street district. There's no skateboarding or bicycles on the sidewalk. So we can address it with a city ordinance violation. But, I mean, there's signs. I haven't looked at them in a while, but there should be signs posted on Beach Street about no skateboarding or bicycles allowed on the sidewalk. There's certain
Both
parts.
sides of Beach Street, east and west.
I don't believe it's for the east side. I'd have to look at honestly, but I know on the west side where all the shops are, I know for sure that there's no bicycling or skateboards allowed. Anything else?
Just one other thing for
Okay.
the good of the group. I did have a vehicle that was stolen a couple weeks ago, although it was in another state, but
Was it a Hyundai or a Kia?
no, it was
Oh.
yeah. And so it was 29 degrees where I was, and I went
Oh,
out
wow.
to warm the vehicle up and left the key in there as well. And we're talking in a matter of minutes, someone had jumped in the vehicle and pulled off. So just, my mistake, everyone else can benefit from, just be cautious.
The key was in it because you were warming the engine up.
Well, no,
You
it was a
just had to wait
keyless.
long enough for somebody to
It
grab
was a keyless remote, yeah.
Right.
And so I left it in, went in and got my bag and put it in the vehicle, and then went in just to say bye and noticed the sound shifted and went out, and they had backed out of the driveway
Oh, wow.
and took off. So, yeah.
Took me a while to find the provision of the code, and I'm sorry for your loss, but going back to the sidewalk and bicycle question, our code of ordinances prohibits bicycles from being operated on any public sidewalk in any business district.
Okay.
And I would assume that means that the east side of
Yes, yeah.
Beach Street's covered as well.
So bicycles in, or you either use a bicycle lane or you're out in traffic.
Yes. Most of that's because of the pedestrians. It interferes with the flow of traffic and the safety of the pedestrians.
I get it. Especially somebody's coming up fast behind you, you don't hear them and
Yeah.
turn and bam. Anything else? Anybody else's cars borrowed by nefarious characters? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good New Year.
We'll
All right,
see you
thank you.
see you in a month. Looks like we're up for staff reports.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ken Thomas. The redevelopment board's scheduled for July and November. The meeting room is not available, so we have alternative site locations. Dates. And so I believe our alternative dates will be July 5th, 12 noon to 1 p.m., and November 8th at 12 noon at the in the commission chambers. July 5th and November 8th,
Okay. All righty, duly noted.
like a week before and a day after in November. And hopefully everyone's calendar could be accommodated. Okay.
July 5th should be.
Yeah, if you have any issues, please let us know, or someone from our office will communicate with you to make sure that we can schedule those dates and be no problems. Okay.
November 8th, that's a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Works for me.
okay. The next item I have, Mr. Chair, is the grant incentives. We included in your packet grants from the city of Hollandale Beach. They really have some nice grant projects, grant programs. And I want you all to just to take a look at it. We've talked about grants in the past, and you all seem to be amenable to making sure that the entire area, for one, will be eligible for the grants. But I wanted to provide this information to you on the commercial facade program to whet your appetite, to see if there's additional grants that we ought to be looking at. But just wanted to give you information so that you all will have this, because at some point over the next several months, we're going to come back to you with the full proposal of grants that we want to offer. If you have any comments today, that's great. If not, we'll certainly come back the next couple of meetings and provide some more additional information. And as we do that, you can comment at your leisure.
Well, you said you were going to come back with proposed grants at the next meeting? Or are
Yes,
we gonna-
yes, we want to revise, for one, our grants right now sort of exclude a lot of the areas on Ridgewood. We're mostly tied to Beach Street and Palmetto. And so we want to open it up to the entire CRA.
Are these for commercial facades only? This is not residential?
Well, we want to do both because in order for us to, grow and have a vibrant downtown, we need more residential. Although we're getting the new framework project, but there are others that we may need to renovate, other buildings, especially on Ridgewood. We need to create some residential grant program that we could, change the face of Ridgewood. So
Well,
I
something
don't
like
want to.
Framework, they're gonna be all today's code, high end up front.
Right,
anyway.
yeah. And there'll be a certain income bracket. But some of the other infield lots or existing structures, we need to look at grant programs that will entice the property owners to want to improve their properties. Because right now, we have just a stagnant of some residential properties on Ridgewood and some of the other areas that are not being improved. And in order for us to have more of a vibrant CRA area, we need to make some changes on Ridgewood.
Do you have a program written out for that at this point, or is that gonna be something that's in development?
We're going to develop it. And we don't have to go too far. There are programs already out there that we can piggyback on.
It's like the Hallandale.
Yeah, just like Hollandale, there are many others. And so we'll sort of cut and paste something that I think would be appropriate to Daytona Beach, bring it back to you and have you review it, give us some comments, feedback on what you think is, are we headed in the right direction or we're not? Then we'll develop it, you'll approve it.
Could we have an opportunity to review your drafts? Say like you've got this, the Hallandale, there's a good example. And then you're going to, I'm assuming you're going to adopt something into the Daytona Beach plan that would be similar to this. And I'm just wondering if the board would be interested in taking a look at how that revised program is going to look. Have an opportunity to have some input into it while it's in development, if that's, if that's available to us, rather than come back in with the grants and say, here's the grants that we're putting out. If we have a chance to be a part of the program.
Okay, so, yeah, I think, I believe we can certainly accommodate you. As opposed to putting it on the agenda, we can just send it to the board members and have you review it before we bring it up for an item. Are we breaking any rules by doing that?
Well,
It would just be reviewing.
Yeah, you can send it to them, but again, no discussions or emails back and forth between board members prior to the meeting.
Okay.
And Michelle has a question too.
And then what we could do then is we can just review it and stick our
Right.
comments in there and send them back to you.
Right,
and-
because it is a good idea, because it's a lot of information, and we don't have much time here at the board meeting, so it would be a really good for us if you gave us feedback.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just picking up on what the chair said a minute ago. If you do send comments back to Mr. Thomas, do not copy all, please. Just send them back to Mr. Thomas directly. Do not include other members of the board. We don't even want an appearance that there's sunshine law violations going on. And technically,
Instead, in fact, send them individually, so
Right.
we're not a reply all type
Right.
thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we will send them individually.
I was going to mention something else. I'm Michelle Tolliver, project manager, but I'm going to comment on that and then go to what I came up here to say. Typically, when you receive emails from us, there's not a lot of time from the time you get the email to the time you meet. So I would suggest you retain your comments until you meet, because staff is going to be getting ready for the meeting after the email goes out. So it may be better, like Mr. Gross was saying, Attorney Gross was saying, in order to not give the appearance of violating the sunshine law, just retain your comments for the meeting, because staff is not going to do anything with these grants until we get your input. So let everybody hear the question or the concern, and then we'll reply back to the group in this setting or by email. But I would retain your comments until we meet, 'cause we don't send you emails 2 weeks before you meet. It's just a few days, so. But what I came up to say was our current grants that are available for commercial and residential and small businesses are on the redevelopment website. And we can send you that link so that you can see what we have, compare it to the Hollandale grants, and then whatever improvements you want to see. But we can send the link out to all the grants that we currently have available.
And one of the things that we want to do, we want to focus, we want to really target, because there are a number of grants that are out there, leasehold grants that help you pay for your rent. There are facade grants. But honestly, let's look at the issues that we're having, the problems. And our problems, dilapidation, is a lot on Ridgewood. So let's focus in on Ridgewood and some of the other areas in our CRA, and provide incentives to property owners to improve those properties. Because if we only provide incentives to existing businesses or businesses on Beach Street, and not look at the other areas where we're really having problems. We're really having some problems on Ridgewood. We need to focus in on those problem areas and provide incentives so we grow this CRA and we improve this CRA. If I'm trying to make some sense here of trying to target our problems and identify resources that could tackle those problems.
So you don't have a residential now? But you do have residential.
Not in a capacity that we can really make some major improvements.
Okay.
If you look at, let's take for example, some of the residentials on residential properties on Ridgewood. A lot of dilapidation. So it's not just the exterior; it's the interior of those units. And it's going to be probably more than $5,000 and $10,000. We're talking some major dollars that we want the property owners to make an investment. Well, what is the carrot? They're collecting rent. Some are collecting rent. Some are not collecting rent. Some are just allowing those properties to go, derelict and not do anything. And unfortunately for the city, we cannot legislate ugly. If it's ugly, it is ugly. I mean, but in order to entice them to make some serious improvement, I think we're going to have to invest some capital into those properties so that we can have more of a partnership and offer more money. And when I say more money, more than the $5,000 or the $10,000 that I think right now that our grant programs offer.
I've got a property down on South Palmetto, and there are several properties from this building going south to Palmetto all the way down to South Daytona that are in serious need of renovation. And it's a very mixed area, South Palmetto and South Beach Street. A lot of residential that are families living there, a lot of residential that are out-of-state ownership, that are rental units. And I've seen several of the properties recently change hands because prices are pretty good right now. So people are selling properties and investment companies are coming in and buying them. And they are not taking care of the properties. And I don't know what could be done. I don't know how you would incentivize an out-of-state owner to take better care of a property or screen the residents better, or somehow try to improve the area, because in the 15 plus years that I've been there, it's gotten worse.
Right.
It hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I see the same thing. And I'm asking myself each and every day when I ride down Palmetto headed toward going south, what can we do to change this? As opposed to just throwing money at it, we have to have something else to go along with it to encourage that out-of-state property owner, although you bought it because it's an investment, we still live in this community. And we see the dilapidation, and they're just collecting rent. So there's a combination of things that we're going to be looking at to try to, if we have some enforcement power, we're going to need to look at and see what enforcement power we have. But also too, I think we can offer some incentives initially, but we're certainly going to need to look at how the city can have something in place where you should be improving your property and it shouldn't, go derelict for years on end.
We have provisions in our land development code that require property maintenance. We've adopted by reference the International Property Maintenance Code.
Okay.
And one thing I would encourage you all to do, the legislature revised the statutes in the last year so that the code enforcement staff cannot code enforce based on anonymous complaints. Doesn't mean they can't enforce based on their own, in the course of business, regular patrolling if they've got time to do that. But if you see a house that's dilapidated or a yard that's overgrown, there are enforcement actions that can be taken, and I would contact code enforcement. One thing about absentee owners is code enforcement's actually a more powerful tool regarding properties that are not owner-occupied residential properties. There's constitutional restrictions on our ability to impose liens on homestead property. And that's the ultimate hammer with code enforcement, is the ability to put a lien on the property. That doesn't exist with people who don't live in their home and claim it as homestead. So potentially code violations can lead to foreclosures, although there's a lot of issues with those. If there's a purchase money mortgage, that can affect our ability to foreclose. But there are codes that require properties to be maintained, including buildings and structures,
Okay.
as well as the yards.
Well, aren't there also inspections required for rental properties to have their rental license?
Right, we have a rental licensing program.
Yeah, but and I don't want to speak out of turn, but on that rental license, I don't know, we do an inspection, but I don't know if it's for housing, minimum housing standards, or is it? So that's something that we need to look at.
I know some of the properties that I've noticed recently that are in disrepair are Section 8 properties. So that might be an area that the city could look at in terms of, I know those have to be inspected.
Absolutely. And see, I would not, because of my past, we've had properties on Section 8 vouchers. Those are the ones that are normally well kept, because you're required to have these inspections, and you will not receive any voucher if those properties are not maintained. One of the things I would like for you all to consider, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the board, is if we could take one of our meetings and have a mobile meeting, and we can drive some of the areas.
We can't do that.
We can't do it.
Here's why. If this board were purely an advisory board, then walking tours or bus tours that are for fact-finding are okay under the Sunshine Law.
Okay.
But under a binding case out of the 5th District Court of Appeals where we're located, involving a school board tour, if a board has any decision-making authority, the Sunshine Law prohibits that kind of a tour. Of course, you could show videos of a tour to the board in this meeting room.
Okay. Well, I want everyone to, doing your time, doing your day, I know some of you all, drive the streets, but some of the issues that we have on our side, the minute you address a particular piece of property, the first phone call they make is to their, city commissioner or city manager. So I want us to collectively look at some of these properties so that we are all on the same page that we actually have an issue. We have a problem and we need to improve it. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to use the provisions within our land development code to enforce the individuals to make improvements. So I don't want you all to think that we're gonna go out there and start trying to create problems for people. But I do want the general public, you all in the general public know, if we're talking about changing the aesthetics and the beautification of this CRA, we're gonna have to use whatever mechanism that we have to improve the exterior of these properties.
How do you notify people? And how do you determine which areas and properties are best served by this? I mean,
Good
some
point.
folks are just, they're, in the business world, you want to improve your facade, you want to improve the looks, and so you come to the city and what do you have available? But in a single-family residence, they probably don't want to come near City Hall, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you let them know that there are incentives to do this?
Oh, you have to notify them, of course. We do have to notify the property owners that these incentives are available. That's the easy part,
Yeah.
is getting them,
And then get them to do it.
yeah, go get them to do it for one, but also two, identifying, you know, what's good, what's bad. Who makes that determination of what looks good and what looks bad? You know, it could be a lot of interpretation.
And
Some of it is
commercially, yeah.
far to the right. Everybody in the room would agree that this property needs to be improved, but there are probably some on the, you know, on the borderline of maybe a little paint job or change everything.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between what needs to be done and what should be done. I know I got a letter years and years ago from code enforcement that my white picket fence had green mold on it, and I needed to paint the fence. And I think it's pretty easy to see you got green mold on there. You take a garden hose and wash it off. That probably wasn't worth the letter and the time that it took to send that out. So there's a difference between that and then a house that's completely fallen down and dilapidated that needs to be done. So how do you make that determination and who gets to decide that? And then how do you endear the city to the property owners in a way that they feel comfortable coming to the city and asking for help if they need help?
Well, a lot of that is going to be on our side to get to that property owner. And it's easier if they're in town as opposed to being out of town. You know, we're hoping that our mail will get to that out of town investor.
A lot of them are run through property management companies, and there's layers of ownership.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've been on the code board for Volusia County for 30 years, and I've seen all the things you're talking about. Usually what happens is when it gets to a point where it's a structural damage or even 12 inches or higher grass, then whether there's a complaint or not, usually it comes from a complainant, and you brought up that now they're not anonymous anymore. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not, but some of them are so dilapidated, they have to go to, we find a violation, refer it to the CCCL, the
Yeah, if I
construction
can,
board for demo.
if I can, Mr. Chair, we have a separate condemnation process that does not require any action by the code board, but instead by our construction board.
Yeah.
That can
But
be initiated.
doesn't really help rebuild the property, though. I'm just saying that's an extreme case, and there's a way to handle it.
Right.
But, you know, if you've got some that's just kind of run down and could use a little work, and in a commercial enterprise, you've got an income stream coming in. So you want improvement to bring more people in to improve your business. Residents isn't going to have that. You know, they're in their home and they've got their mortgage and their car payments and everything else to go along with it. So you've got your work cut out for you on how you're going to implement this. I think it's a grand idea.
Yeah.
And something as simple as just repainting a structure to any size at all, it's gonna be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
And if it's a matching grant, single-family residents don't have that kind of money.
Right. Well, we're brainstorming here, and what we want to do is we're probably going to start on Ridgewood and work our way into the neighborhoods like Pet Meadow and some of the others, and or down Dr. Bethune and work our way into the neighborhood, because when you drive down Ridgewood, what you see, you see all those dilapidated commercial structures. Some of them are multifamily, but some of them are offices. But that's what you see, and only time you really see the residential is what Jack was talking about, is when you ride down, Pet Meadow. And I ride down going to lunch or wherever I'm going, and I see it when I'm driving down Pet Meadow, and I'm wondering, heck, we need to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most residents down there, even the absentee landlords, they want their property to look nice. I don't think anybody intentionally wants it to look bad, but they just don't have the funds.
Yeah.
So,
And it's hard to find help.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've tried
Yeah,
to hire anybody
absolutely.
recently, but it's hard to find help.
so I'm familiar with all the properties along Ridgewood and the areas that you mentioned. And from the suggestions you had in the documents you sent out, I'm just dealing with interior, which could be ceilings, walls, floors, and even electrical, HVAC, plumbing as well, which is great. And then on the exterior side, whether it's lighting, landscaping, et cetera, the question really is, one of the questions is, does the city really have the funds to put forth that effort?
We would have to start small. But we can dedicate a number of our resources, our CRA funds, for these improvements. So it would take a commitment on our side to make this happen, no doubt about it. But we couldn't do the entire, street of Ridgewood. We would have to go block by block and identify, the number of funds that we have available. And that's where we'll be looking from the board to say, is $25,000 enough, or should we go to $50,000 a grant improvement? Because everything that you just described is not going to be cheap.
A lot of the improvements too are non-visible. One of the big issues that we have on Palmetto and South Beach Street and Ridgewood too is old plumbing.
Right.
And we've got sewer lines that are clay, and some of it is cast iron, and it's all broken. And so every time it floods, those sewer lines back up, and the whole street is awash with sewer. And so I know several months ago, the city came through and did a smoke test down South Palmetto, where they put smoke into all the sewer lines from the main sewer line all the way through. But I don't think anything ever happened. I never saw any work being done anywhere. So, that's something that me as a resident, I know I would have appreciated that. I ended up having to replace all the sewer lines in my property from the inside of my property all the way to the street. And that was not easy to do. Many of those properties need that same thing, and they're not going to do it unless they get some help.
You mind sharing what that cost was for the plumbing, just so we can get a perspective?
It was almost $10,000.
Okay,
I replaced water lines in my house, $6,000.
and that was probably cheap. And how many years ago was that?
That was 15 years ago.
Right. So those prices have either doubled or tripled. So in a 2,100 square foot home, to rewire it, we're talking $30,000.
Wow.
We're talking HVAC, let's say if you want to put 3 zones, first floor, second floor, and even a mini split, we're talking $15,000. So the numbers, that's why when I mentioned it, is the city really ready to do that? Now, I get in this particular proposal, it could be a split of 80-20, 60-40, which is very helpful. But if a homeowner or a business person really isn't committed to really making a difference in that sense, because there's a lot of commitment, not only time, but money. And so there's just something to consider. I get the proposal, it's a wonderful one, and if, homeowners or business owners are willing to make the effort to do that, then it's a costly project.
And I really like the chairman's idea. I think that maybe we could perhaps just put that on the agenda and work through drafts as we get further down the road, because it's a big issue. It's one of the reasons that I'm on this board in the first place. And I really feel strongly about trying to do something to help the people in this CRA and all the other CRAs as well, because we could use it as a template.
Right.
If it works, then we can use it someplace else too. So the area has so much potential, and there's so many beautiful homes, beautiful businesses that need help, because it's just so hard to do it on their own.
You're right. You're right. It's going to be a major undertaking, but we have to take small bites at the apple. We cannot continue to just allow it to happen on its own, or we're just going to wait until the market takes care of itself. It's not happening. So we have to do something.
And one of the things that I've noticed also is outside investment companies just blanketing the area with offers and cash offers. I'll buy your property for cash, no settlement cost, and all of this. And what they're doing is they're buying these places and they're turning them into Section 8, or they're multifamily for a Victorian house that wasn't designed to be multifamily. And so there's lots of issues that should be addressed. It's not illegal for them to do that, but when they do that, then there's a real chance that it's not going to be maintained.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Any comments by the board on what's been discussed? I guess we've all chipped in already, so. Any public comments?
No.
Board comments? Well, then that takes us to item 9, which is adjournment.
Well, I do have one other comment. I was just thinking about the flooding from the hurricane and things of that nature. Is there anything that could be put in place from the city for the downtown redevelopment to support the businesses in that area that sort of, I don't know what we can do in regards to preventing as much flooding, or any provisions that can go into place to, I mean, we're faced with this challenge year after year after year, and, businesses are suffering, and even if they can open, the employees can't get there, so they're just wondering if the city could do anything financially to help.
Disaster grants.
Yeah, or something.
Well, our disaster grants are still available. I think we got, is it less than 50?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have less than 50 who have applied in the downtown area, just businesses in general. And those grants are $3,000. So it's recently we've been able to process the business side, because we had close to 200 on the residential side, the renters and the homeowners. And so now we're now getting to the business side of them, and we're processing them now. So that is one thing. If we get to a point where we think we're going to have more applications than we have funding, because right now I think we have $500,000 set aside for businesses, then we can probably come back and revisit.
What's the status of the storm drainage renovation project down on South Beach and Palmetto?
South Beach and Palmetto.
South Palmetto.
I don't know. Do you know, Michelle? Yes, that's a good one. We'll find out. I do want to just make mention that probably if you've read any of your the public works projects, the Beach Street streetscape, I think they're somewhere at 30-40% of design. I did talk to the engineer before Christmas, and I wanted him to know that at some point during the month of March or April, I want him to come to this board and give a presentation on the Beach Street streetscape improvements, where we are. make sure we're all on the same page on what we're designing.
I drive by it at least twice a day, going to work and going home. And they're working away like
Yeah.
crazy on the south side down here. A lot of, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
What happened to the Van Gogh mural?
The what?
Wasn't there a Van Gogh mural that we talked about, Star Night or whatever, that the art building?
Yeah. The
Is that
big mural.
happening or is that not happening?
Yeah. We're waiting on the owners.
Hmm?
We're waiting on the owners.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause we
And
approved
before
it.
we go, Mr. Chair, this is Angela Armstrong. She's our new project manager. Her focus is mainly on the beach side. She has a degree in hotel management, so her expertise are probably going to be more on the beach side. But we are looking to hire someone for downtown.
Good deal. Nice to meet you.
Who would be the point person or the contact person for residential grants?
The hurricane disaster grants?
No, just like the historic grants and the facade grants, those kinds of things.
Actually, it's all of us here, Angela and Michelle. Michelle covers the Midtown, and Angela now is on the beach side. And so if you have anything for downtown, it would be all three of us. Yeah. Any one of us will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And our commissioner just walked in.
Can I come up and?
No,
If you want to say
if you
something.
want to. Okay.
Okay. Well, then we're adjourned.
Yes.
You had your chance.
Hey, that's why
Yeah.
I offered.
5 seconds.
Opportunity to the top.
5-second rule.